ਜਗਮੋਹਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਪੱਟੀ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟ YouTube ਚੈਨਲ ਅੱਜ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਤ ਤੇ ਨਵੀਂ ਰਾਤ ਤੋਂ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਸਵੇਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਕੀ ਖੂਨ ਖੋ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਖੁੱਸ ਗਿਆ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗੇ ਆ। ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਭਾਰਤ ਦਾ ਸੋਨੇ ਦੀ ਚਿੜੀਆ ਦਾ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਸੁਨਹਿਰਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਸੁਨਹਿਰਾਪਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਓ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਔਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਆਈਆਂ ਰਾਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੁਰ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਯਾਤਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਯਾਚਨਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਦਾ ਰੋਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਬਾਤ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਗਈ ਰਾਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਨਿਕਲੀ ਸਵੇਰ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਸਵੇਰ ਦੀ ਬੀਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੁਪਹਿਰ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਆਈ ਰਾਤ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਾਂਦਾਰ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਾਤ। ਅੱਜ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਸਾਡਾ ਦੇਸ਼ ਕੌਣ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ, ਇਹਦਾ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਪੀ ਕੇ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਇਹ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿਸ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕਰਦਾ, ਇਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਆਹ ਦੇਖੋ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਫੁਹਾਰਾਂ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਹਾਸੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਛਣਕਾਰਾਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ, ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਕਤਲ ਤੇ ਕਾਤਲ ਤੇ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਗੁਨਾਹ ਬਖਸ਼ਦੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਗੱਲ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਲੋ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਫੇਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਨੀ ਮਾਨੀ ਹਸਤੀ, ਨਾਮ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ, ਨਾਮ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਓ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।
Good evening, friends. Today I would like to share my views about one of the pillars of our democracy, and that is the executive and its role in the development of the country. Only yesterday, our much hated Prime Minister exhorted the IAS and IPS professionals to make the country self-reliant. I have intentionally used the word much hated because Modi means business and Modi is not moribund. He is a dynamic and a visionary leader, but somehow majority of the people have not been able to digest his plans, programs and policies. As far as our bureaucracy is concerned, most of the civil servants, they come from the middle class background. They have their own aspirations, they have their own dreams and desires. But when they join this service, they must put aside their own aspirations, desires and dreams because they are called as civil servants or public servants. But unfortunately, after joining the services, they become the masters of the people. They must put the individual at the back front and the welfare of the people at the forefront. The bureaucrats coming from the middle class background, they have certain fixed notions and they have certain fixed ideas also. And when a bureaucrat joins another state, he has to imbibe the language, the culture, the customs and the thinking of the people of that state. During my 40 years, I have closely observed, watched and experienced the functioning and malfunctioning of our bureaucracy, to which I jocularly called as Bureaucracy, because majority of our civil servants, they are boring and they are crazy also. When they join the services, initially for 10 years, every civil servant is active, rather hyperactive and proactive, because he holds and independent charge in a district. But after 10 years of service, when he is shifted to the secretariat in the rank of joint secretary, he becomes indolent, he becomes sluggish, and he simply becomes a paper shuffler and a manager, and he doesn't play any active role in administration. And at the fag end of his career, during the last 10 years of his services, he only thinks of the welfare of his family by making a palatial house and thinking of the post-retirement benefits. And if he is expert in the art of psychophancy, he also thinks of getting a job after his superannuation, because every civil servant wishes to die in harness. A civil servant must realize that with power comes duty and responsibility. Corruption, to my mind, is not bribery. Corruption is dereliction of duty. Corruption is abdication of duty. Corruption is passing the buck. There are very few civil servants who have the guts to call a spade, who have the guts and moral courage to say no to their political godfather or to their political masters. I was shocked to know that in Haryana, a civil servant having 27 years of meticulous service, he suffered 23 transfers. A bureaucrat is afraid of only three things. Number one, posting. Number two, transfer. And number three, recording of his annual confidential report. But a civil servant who is upright, who is intelligent, who is dedicated, who is committed, he doesn't bother about these things. I remember long time back, I interacted with a civil servant who retired as Chief Secretary of the state, and he was also Home Secretary, Union Territory Chandigarh, and Home Secretary of Punjab also, that, sir, what was your modus operandi? And he said that my modus operandi was very simple. I said, what do you mean? He said कि जो डिपार्टमेंट फ्लरिशिंग है उसको कंडम कर दो और जो डिपार्टमेंट कंडम है उसको टॉप के ऊपर ले आओ. Now, the face of an office depends on its senior ranking officer, because corruption brews from the top and trickles down to bottom. Every civil servant must be taught certain principles of morality and ethics, and he should also be taught to economize in the simplest possible manners, because bureaucrats are known as public servants and they draw huge salary and innumerable perks and privileges, and that too at the cost of public exchequer. So their duty is more towards the public and not towards his seniors or his political godfathers and political masters. But I'm hopeful and I'm rather confident and sanguine also, because India is changing rapidly, and the coming generation of civil servants, they know their rights, they know their duties, they know their responsibilities also. Because power, to my mind, is like electricity, and every house is to be lightened up with electricity. A bureaucrat owes his services to the common man. I'm surprised that a common man doesn't wish to go to any government office, because he faces humiliation, he faces victimization, he faces degradation, and then he says, what to do? The system is like that. And even judiciary has not functioned as a watchdog. I am reminded of an incident that once a poor man won his case in the High Court after 20 years. There was some complaint against him in the police department, and he won the case after 20 years. And when he won the case in the High Court, he was present in the court and he thanked the learned judge, and he said, Thanedar Sahab, bahut bahut shukriya. His advocate told the client that he is a judge and not thanedar. And the client said, to me, he is a thanedar, because what he has delivered today, after 20 years, a thanedar told me that you pay me 50,000 rupees and I will get your work done within 2 days. So the judiciary has not functioned as a watchdog. A civil servant has to make a balance between the two other pillars of democracy, because a civil servant is a complementary to the legislative. But unfortunately, when a civil servant does anything wrong, even judiciary lets him off by simply saying that it is negligence and not misconduct. The country can develop only if the civil servants try to run the administration with good intention, strong will and firm hand. Democracy doesn't mean authoritarianism. Democracy means to solve the problems of the people. And the word D stands for development. It doesn't stand for demagogy or deceit or doles or deras or drugs. So I do hope and trust that the upcoming civil servants of this country will try to shape the future of this country by imbibing certain ethical and moral values in the future generation also. Thank you very much, friends. Wish you all the best.
गल्लां इच्चों गल निकली, गल याद आई, हमें फ़ख्र है अपनी नाकामियों पर, यहाँ हर जलील है कामयाब साकी। और ये किहो जे जलील ने की है सिस्टम दी सिस्टम नाल भिड़त, और चीज़ ये है अपने दी अपनिਆਂ ਤੋਂ पहचान छुपाउਣ ਲਈ ਬਚਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਹ ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੋਈ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ, ਤੇ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ। ਮੇਰੀ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਛੀ ਲੱਗੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਲਾਈਕ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਘਰ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਹੁੰਚਾ ਦੇਣਾ। ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਚਲਦੇ ਚਲਦੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਸਰ, ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਚਾਨਣਾ ਹੋਰ। law makers are law breakers and law breakers are law makers. Law of the world is created by Britishers, and Indians create crime, and crime is tackled by Britishers. Is it a good saying or bad saying?
Well, there is an old adage that law is an ass. And even as an ordinary citizen, sometimes I feel that the judgments of the Supreme Court also, they remain in the books and they are never implemented in letter and spirit. I have heard several judges of the High Court openly saying in the open court that my judgment is patently wrong and you go further. But they don't know how difficult it is for a common man to go to the Supreme Court for getting justice. So we do expect everybody to do his duty in accordance with law, because law is sovereign and law is supreme also. And we cannot go beyond the Constitution. And the nexus between the politicians, the businessmen and the bureaucracy has to be broken by making drastic amendments in the People's Act.
Thank you so much. ਵੀਡੀਓ ਨੂੰ ਵਾਚ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ, ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ, ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰ ਦੇਣਾ ਤੇ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਅਫਜ਼ਾਈ ਕਰਕੇ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਵੀ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਾ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ YouTube ਚੈਨਲ ਤੋਂ ਦੇਖੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰ ਦੇਵੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਵੀਰ ਸੱਜਣ ਭੈਣ ਮਿੱਤਰ, ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਫੀਡਬੈਕ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਦੇ ਦੇਣਾ। ਅੱਗੇ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਅਫਜ਼ਾਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਗੱਲਾਂ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ।